Scott Walker is currently in the process of going down, and as a result, he needs to go before his supporters and explain what is going on and what his strategy is to get back on top. Now, when I say that, you might think mistakenly that I'm talking about voters, but no, he went in front of a bunch of multi-million-dollar donors, as politicians do these days. On Thursday morning, less than 12 hours after Walker left the debate stage, the presidential candidate and his team attended a fundraiser with several dozen bundlers at the Los Angeles home of Republican pollster Frank Luntz. Bundlers, of course, are the people who take it upon themselves to organize and find other major donors, and so they are basically super donors. They're like Skynet. And so they met at Frank Luntz, his house, a guy who, of course, does not like Donald Trump. Now, lest you believe that Luntz is cooperating with Walker or has an ideological bone to pick, Luntz says, "My house is open to anyone who wants to use it." So if you live in LA and you're between apartments, you can stay with Frank Luntz. We just gave you support there. And so we have a report from the meeting, what actually went on. The bundlers were assured that they still had a great product in Walker.
Oh, I love that.
And that the campaign is still expecting popular Republican outsiders Donald Trump, Calif and Ben Carson to start to fade as people recognize they don't have the credibility to run the government. I agree with them there. The bundler said he thought Walker had a good enough night at the GOP debate for the bundler community to stay with him. Thankfully, the bundler added after a long pause. And then we've got a little bit more advice for Walker from one of these bundlers soon.
Can I break in just a second before we go to another quote? I love that they referred to him as a product.
Yeah.
No, that's my favorite thing in the world.
Of course.
What is a product except something to be purchased?
Yeah.
That's right. No, these guys, but that is what they are. And the product gets bundled, right? Mm-hmm. And it gets presented to the consumer. In this case, the consumer are the millionaires that are funding the campaign. So the bundlers go to the millionaires and they go, okay, now we've got a great product for you guys. He'll do whatever you want, right? He'll lower your taxes. He'll crush the unions so you guys don't have to pay as much for your employees, and he'll get rid of all regulations so you can pollute, you can take risks with your financial speculation. If you want to start a war, we've got a great product for you. It's called Scott Walker.
And if you want change, we've got climate change.
Yes.
Yes. And so I love that there's a bundler community.
Yeah.
Like, hey, bundler lives matter. but
Making bundlers great again.
Yeah, their lives and their votes matter a hell of a lot more than the rest of ours.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, so here's the thoughts of one of the people at this event on what Walker needs to do to turn it around. And understand these are people who have been financially supporting him, which seems like questionable decisions on their part. But I've been in the TV business for a long time. You might have 4 or 5 potential anchors, and you give them the same script to read. And for some reason, people think, oh, that guy's terrific. And Walker says the right things. He's proven what he can do. But I come to work, I hear my wife, and they're not excited about what he did last night. He said all the right things, but it's like the anchor person, maybe he just needs some coaching from the right people, not the wrong people.
So that's billionaire Stanley Hubbard from Minnesota, okay? And great couple of tidbits in there as well. Number one, he's an anchor. You have to give him a script.
Yeah.
Right? That's what anchors do. Now, we took our product and we fed him a certain script. And some anchors are better at reading that script. And other anchors are not very good at reading that script, right? The script is the same. You just need to get a good anchor/actor to deliver that script. That's why Ronald Reagan is their god, because he was the best actor they ever had at reading that script.
Oh, yes. And they've been doing, the neocons have been doing this with Dan Quayle, an empty vessel who reads the script, and then Sarah Palin, the empty vessel, George W. Bush.
Who can't read, but she'll repeat what she's told to say.
George W. Bush also repeating whatever the neocons, they love the empty vessel who repeats the script.
Yeah, and so Sarah Palin, you wonder, she did such a good job at the convention. Everybody agreed, all the pundits agreed, but then later she was so miserable at everything else. That's because when you're in an interview with Katie Couric or anyone else, you don't have a script. So then you have to actually speak your mind, which is a disaster for a person like Palin, who was literally a sports anchor. They took this anchor, and then at the convention, she has a prompter. Later, she claimed that her prompter didn't work, but we have tape evidence that it did work, and JR was sitting right next to the prompter and saw it work. We were at the convention.
And by the way, even if it didn't work, she assumed it was going to. She set it up.
And it's written for her anyway, no matter what. She didn't write the speech there. They gave her a script and she read it. And so they liked Palin when she was a good reader of their script. And so now they're beginning to worry that Scott Walker might not be as good an actor as they wanted, right? And then he says, look, he's got to get the right coaching. Like, our product needs a little bit of help here. The new and improved Scott Walker, like, the bottom line is always the same. It's all the goodies come to us. The question is, how do we package it for the voters so that we can trick them into believing that this guy would do well for them instead of us? And think about how much more important Stanley Hubbard's wife is than all the other voters.
Yes.
His wife's a little concerned about his performance, so now he might not get the funding that he used to, and then that would mean that he might have to drop out of the race because he has fallen out of favor with the donors, and they won't drop those little packets on him like in the Hunger Games. You need your sponsors.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah, if he didn't have that, he'd have to run on charisma. Ugh.
Scott Walker is proof that $80 million in Coke money cannot buy charisma.